Hey book besties, it has been a little while since I filmed one of these videos, but I'm so excited. Today we are going to be using my TBR jar full of reading prompts to pick out my April TBR. I'm thinking for April we are just going to be picking out 5 reading prompts and choosing 5 books because I feel like that is probably manageable. Lately I've been trying not to set an unattainable TBR because it just never sticks with me. So I'm gonna choose 5 reading prompts and we're gonna pick out 5 books that match these reading prompts. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and pick out our April TBR. This is gonna be our first reading prompt, and that is a mystery slash thriller book. We are going straight into a reading prompt for a genre that I don't really read much of, and the only time that I really read this genre is during October because Halloween spooky season, of course. So I don't actually own too many thrillers. Now there is this book that I was actually initially thinking of unhauling, but maybe this is a sign that I should probably read it before I unhaul it, and that is Her Pretty Face by Robin Harding. So this says 2 women, 2 dark secrets. Do people ever really change? Though I think this is more of a domestic thriller. The other option I have is An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher. I actually got this gifted to me by my bestie Ali, and she really liked this book, so I have her endorsement to go off. The tagline always intrigues me because it says, "I'm going to kill her, you'd better come if you want to save her." And it says her past is a wound, but it's also a weapon. And this book just really intrigues me, so I am leaning more towards this than this because I initially was literally thinking of unhauling this book because I was like, there's nothing that's pulling me to read it. But I think I'm gonna go with An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher because I think I'm really gonna enjoy this, and this is just over 300 pages. Okay, so this is our second reading prompt. That is, oh, this is long. A book that starts with the letter in your last name. My last name starts with an R, so let's try to find a book that starts with the letter R. Red, White and Royal Blue would have been a really good pick for this, but I've already read that and I don't want to really reread anything at this moment, so let's try to pick something else. I think to make things a little bit easier for me, any book that starts with the, we're just gonna skip the and go into the second word because I feel like that'll just make things a little bit easier. But even still, I can't see anything that really goes with any of the books that I have. Okay, I'm gonna look over on this side because there's literally nothing on this side. That second prompt was an absolute flop because I don't have any books on my physical TBR that starts with the letter R. So we're just gonna re-pick our second prompt because there's no books that I can pick for this one, and I really don't want to pick one that I have to go and buy because the aim of my TBRs is to get through my physical TBR without buying any books, and also my 2024 resolution, I guess, is to be on a book buying ban, and I've stuck to it so far and we're almost to the end of March. So let's just pick another book. Hopefully this one actually works. This one's a really small one. And I love this reading prompt. It is a small town romance. We all know how I feel about small town romances, and there are so many that I have on my physical TBR that I don't even know where to start off with. My immediate thought was Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry because I think I started this in December. Not that I DNF'd it, I just didn't have any time to read in that month, so I just never got around to it. So we got Indigo Ridge, which is a small town romance series, and this also has a little element of a mystery situation going on as well, and I've heard so many good things about this series. It's part of the Eden series. The other option I have is another series, and it is Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is a cowboy romance, which I've never read a cowboy romance before. This is set in Chestnut Springs. It's the first book in the Chestnut Springs series, and it's of course set in a small town. So this is also another contender. I don't know if I should be picking out any more options, but literally most of the books that I own are small town romances because that is like my favorite setting in a book. It's just all cozy, fluffy, cute, sweet vibes, and I love it. Okay, I'm just gonna narrow it down to these 2 books. I am leaning more towards Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry just because I did start this in December and I just never got around to continuing it, so I feel like I need to try again and read it. And I think I'm definitely gonna like this because it's short and sweet. It's got a little mystery element sort of in it as well. Plus I do have the other 2 books in this series also on my physical TBR, so if I read this then I can actually read the other 2 books as well. Whereas with Flawless I only have the first book, and like I said, I am on a book buying ban. If I read this I will be so tempted to read the other books, and I just don't really want to be buying any more new books right now when I have a massive physical TBR. So I think we're gonna go with Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry. Then we have our third prompt. That is a genre or trope you haven't read before. I don't know if this really works, but Dream On by Angie Hockman could work for this prompt because it's sort of, not that it has the amnesia trope, but I don't know, it's kind of got a little magical realism. You know what, I'm just gonna read the back of this book because I kind of know what it's about, but I feel like I'm gonna struggle to explain it. But I've never read a book anything like this before. When law graduate Cass Walker wakes up after surviving a car accident, she's flooded with memories of a man named Devon. The only problem, Devon, as confirmed by family, friends and doctors, doesn't exist. Everything about him, from his coffee brown eyes to the slightly crooked ankle of his pinky finger to his high wattage charm, is a figment of Cass's coma-addled imagination. Still, she can't get him out of her head. So when she happens upon the real Devon a year later in a Cleveland flower shop, she's completely shocked. Even more surprising is that Devon actually believes her story, and despite his protective younger brother's doubts, they soon embark on a real-life romance. With her dream man by her side and a new job at a prestigious law firm, Cass's future seems perfect, but fate might have other plans. So I don't really know how to necessarily describe this trope, but it's definitely not something I've read before. Like, she basically dreams up or thinks about this man, like her dream man, while she's in a coma. She wakes up, he doesn't actually exist. A year later, she pretty much meets this guy that she's been having dreams about in her coma. He's real and they're like dating now. So I don't know what type of trope I guess you would call this, but it's definitely not a trope that I've read before. So I think this will match with that prompt because I don't think there are any other books that I can think of right now. Our fourth reading prompt. Read a book by an underrated author. This is so easy for me. And this could have actually worked for the small town romance prompt, but I'm glad that I didn't pick this book for that because this goes really well for this prompt. And that is When I Come Home by Maisie Myers. This is the first book in the Pine Ridge Farm series. Maisie Myers is an indie author, literally such a hidden gem. She needs way more readers. Her books are so well written and just so poetic, so beautiful. This is a small town spicy little romance, and this also has kind of like a Taylor Swift vibe to it. That's pretty much all I know. I don't really know too much. I always recommend with Maisie Myers to go in with her books somewhat blind because it's just so much better that way. I feel like that's me with pretty much all books. Okay, this is technically our fifth and final prompt, but I kind of want to pick out 6 prompts now, so let's go for 6 and not 5. But this will be our 5th reading prompt. Okay, so our 5th reading prompt, a book you started and never finished. Okay, well, Indigo Ridge would have been a good one for that one, but I also do have a few other books. I think that I have DNF'd that is still on my physical TBR. Oh, you know what? I don't know if this is like considered cheating or not. Technically, yeah, I started it and I haven't finished it yet, but I started The Score by Elle Kennedy last night, and obviously I'm only 1 chapter in. I obviously haven't finished it, but I started it and I never finished it. So yes, no, I never DNF'd this book because this is my current read. Does this count for this prompt? I feel like it should because I started it and I haven't finished it yet. And I want an excuse to put this book on my TBR for April. But we're gonna go with The Score by Elle Kennedy. This is the 3rd book in the Off-Campus series, which is a little college sports ice hockey romance. You guys know how I feel about my hockey romances. So good. But yeah, this is the 3rd book in the Off-Campus series, and I know for a fact this is definitely going to be read in April because I've already started it. I'm obsessed with this series. I love ice hockey romance. I'm truly in my hockey romance era, so this is definitely going to be read in April and I'm so excited. But this is following Ali and Dean's story. I think they're going to turn into like a friends with benefits situation. I'm honestly not entirely sure, but I think that's kind of where it goes off. But Dean is a massive player. Like, he's the ultimate player in the hockey team in terms of like, he goes through a bunch of girls. He's the massive flirt. but in the group basically. And Ali, the main female character in this book, is the best friend of Hannah, who is the girl in the first book of this series. And I love their friendship in the first book, so I'm really excited to finally read her story. Honestly, I'm not really a huge fan of Dean from the first two books that I read, but I don't know, maybe my opinion of him will change in his own book. Keen to see what his character development is going to be like. This is now going to be our 6th and final reading prompt. Let's hope for a good one. The book you were hoping to pick. Well, that would have been the score, but let's pick another book that I would be really wanting to read this month. I don't know, because if I start this series, I'm gonna want to buy other series, but initially I was thinking of King of Wrath by Anna Huang, because I binged the Twisted series and I love Anna Huang's writing, and this is like set in the same world as the Twisted series, and it's another billionaire romance. It's arranged marriage, which I never read that trope before. I kind of want to go with this one, but I know that there are more books coming out in this series, and like I said, I'm gonna book by man, so I don't really want to pick a book that's a first in a series if there's a chance that I'm going to want to pick up the rest of the books, which I know for a fact is going to happen when I finish this book, because it's Anna Huang. Once you start reading, you can't stop. I don't have the physical book with me right now because it's upstairs and I don't really want to go upstairs to go get it, but I think for this reading prompt I'm going to go with A Risk Gone Forever by N.S. Perkins, because I'm also currently reading that at the moment. I'm like halfway through. It's definitely a very emotional read. I am going to save that, but I have a feeling I'm going to get that one finished for my April reading wrap up. So I think I'm going to go with that book for this prompt because it makes sense, because I am currently reading that book as well. Anyways, I guess that concludes my April TBR video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. I love filming these TBR videos because the prompts just make it so much more fun, and it's just a fun, good time. And it's been a while since I filmed one of these. Let's do a quick little recap of all the books that we have set for our April TBR and what prompts they matched up to. So for a mystery slash thriller prompt, we chose An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher. For a book that I started but never finished, I picked The Score by Elle Kennedy, aka my current read. For a book written by an underrated author, we have When I Come Home by Maisie Myers. For a book with a genre or trope that I haven't read before, I picked Dream On by Angie Hockman. For a small town romance book, we have chosen Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry. And lastly, for a book that I hoped I would pick, we have chosen A Risk Gone Forever by N.S. Perkins. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Please give it a huge thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that are currently on my April TBR, and also let me know what is on your April TBR as well. Stay tuned for my March reading wrap up, because I will be posting that in the next couple of days, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!